Hello! Welcome to this week's video. So for this week, I am doing a book haul for, excuse me, for this month. We are in June. It's been a while since I've done a book haul, so I thought let's get one done today. So this stack is sort of more... we have quite a few classics on this stack. So they're from that shelf there in the hopes of lessening that shelf. And they're going to be moved over there. But we still have more stacks there. Nope. There. Perspective. There we go. There. Then it's going to go back up there. So we're just sort of, it's musical shelves at this point. So let's just get into the books that I have to show you guys this month. So for this month, we are starting off with Virginia Woolf's Between the Acts. And I've, of course, heard a lot of good things about Virginia Woolf. And let's get into the back blurb, shall we? Between the Acts is Virginia Woolf's last novel, and in her own opinion, it was more quintessential than any of her others. Don't know what that means. Set in the summer of 1939 on the day of the annual village pageant at Points Hall, the book weaves together the musings of several disparate characters and their reactions to the imminence of a war which is to change the pattern of history. Oh my goodness. That history is celebrated by the pageant, the work of Miss Latrobe, a genuine, though not a successful artist who knows the inevitability of failure. She could not help cherishing her dream. Yet even in her moment of deepest dejection, she experiences a vision of her next work, her next attempt to present as a unity the tragic disconnectedness of the world. Before the book was published in the spring of 1941, Virginia Woolf had taken her own life. So, yeesh. So it was, it's set in 1939 and was published in 1941. So pretty much right before and smack dab in the middle of the early years, I guess, not in the middle of World War II. So definitely looking forward to that. I've been sick for a while, so I completely lost my voice and everything. So it does still get a little scratchy on occasion, and if I've been talking a lot, by the end of the day, my voice is still tight. I got sick at the end of April, and my voice is still got a tiny little bit of a to it. It's it just yeesh. So I got my water here. Next is The Light After the War by Anita Abriel, or Abriel. In 1946, Vera Frankel and her best friend Edith Ban arrive in Naples as refugees from Hungary. They jumped from the train that carried their mothers to Auschwitz and spent the rest of the war hiding on an Austrian farm. Now the two young women are determined to start new lives abroad. Vera finds work at the American Embassy, where she falls in love with Captain Anton White. But as Vera and Edith grapple with the aftermath of the war, so too does Anton, and when he suddenly disappears, Vera is forced to change course. Their quest for a better life takes Vera and Edith from Naples to Ellis Island to Caracas as they start careers, reunite with loved ones, and rebuild their lives after unimaginable loss. I love these kind of books, it's sort of set either during World War II, you know how much I love my World War II fiction, and sort of right after, dealing with sort of the aftermath. Absolutely love it. Cannot wait to read this book. Next we have a big girl. And, oh, got the sticker right over her face. I mean, really? Took that off. It's Sandra Gullin's The Josephine B. Trilogy. And it's the, I'm not sure if it's a fictionalized biography. I'll have to see that. But it's the trilogy, which includes The Many Lives and Secret Sorrows of Josephine B. And the second one is Tales of Passion, Tales of Woe. And the third one is The Last Great Dance on Earth. And Josephine B is Josephine Bonaparte, as in Napoleon's wife. So let's read back here. Sandra Gullin's irresistible epic draws the reader into the passionate relationship between Josephine and Napoleon Bonaparte. Comprising 3 acclaimed bestsellers, this omnibus edition traces Josephine's transformation from an impressionable young girl to the Empress of France and one of the most sophisticated, powerful women in history. So I think I when I was like skimming it in like the store, it does seem like it's like fictionalized, like, or not fictionalized as in like not true. Like I think it must be like pretty accurate to her story. I don't know, but it's like in sort of a fiction novelized sort of form. So that's, I think, why I picked it up, because I don't think if it was like just a history book, I don't think I would have picked it up. But because it's in sort of novelized form, I am quite interested in reading this one. Ooh. Another big boy is Marcel Proust's Remembrance of Things Past, but this is volume 2. Because they only had volume 2. I couldn't find volume 1. So by the time I get to reading this, I mean, your girl's TBR shelf is like shelved. Your TBR bookcase is like packed. So it'll be a while before I get to this one. But if I happen to find it next year, if I happen to find it, I will pick it up. Why next year? Because this year I am on a serious book buying ban. And I will say, it's June now, and I've been really, really good. I haven't bought one fiction book. I've bought like non-fiction stuff, like picture books and like children's books and stuff like that for my crafting and scrapbooking and like that kind of stuff. Which, if you didn't know, I'm also into paper crafting and scrapbooking, and I have collages and junk journal stuff up on Etsy. Links will be in the description if you want to check that out. And I also like create like little packs and stuff to sell of art images and like different kind of images, like animals and nature and fashion and like that kind of stuff in my Etsy store if you want to check that out. But fiction-wise, I have not bought one book in this year, fiction book this year, and I'm very, very glad about that, because your girl's got piles, y'all. Your girl's got piles sort of everywhere, and I need to lessen up those piles, and I've been making a good dent in that bookcase there. You can't really tell, because once I get like a couple of books off it, I sort of bump everything up so that they don't look empty. But, you know, it's getting better. It's very, very slowly getting better. So, yeah, making my way through that. Not adding any new ones until at least next year. So, for now, we're just going through the books that I have. And so, yeah, I only found the second one of this, and he's a big boy. So, like, I'm like, this is volume 2? Like, how many volumes are there, and are they all this big? But you know me, I like my big books, and I cannot lie. Proust's transformative novel follows one man's search for meaning in his life. So that's why it's this big. From childhood through love, affairs, jealousy, desire, and loss, to the discovery of his vocation and salvation in art. Scott Moncrief's masterly early 20th century translation of Remembrance of Things Past captures both Proust's grandeur and lyricism, and is now regarded as an immortal classic in its own right. This volume contains the Guermantes Way, and Cities of the Plain, exploring the narrator's experiences of decadent Parisian society, his attraction to men, and his destructive sexual jealousy. So this, whoosh, looks like it's got some stuff in it that should make for a very sort of interesting read. And so next year I will hopefully get volume 1, and I'll hold on to this one until I guess I read that. If they sort of have to be read in order, I would assume, because it's like the dude's life story. So next we have another classic, not as big, but it's Patrick White's Voss. Now, you got the Marcel Proust one and this one are both like the Penguin classics, and like these ones like are my favorite because they just say classic to me. When I think of like classic novels, I think of these with like the black spines, and some of them don't have like the orange penguin, and some of them, like the Marcel Proust one, has the white penguin. But either way, I like the black spine. In 1973, Australian writer Patrick White was awarded the Nobel Prize in Literature for an epic and psychological narrative art which has introduced a new continent into literature. Set in 19th century Australia, Voss is a sweeping novel about a secret passion between the explorer Voss and the young orphan Laura. As Voss is tested by hardship, mutiny, and betrayal during his crossing of the brutal Australian desert, Laura awaits his return in Sydney, where she endures their months of separation as if her life were a dream and Voss the only reality. Marrying a sensitive rendering of hidden love with the stark adventure narrative, Voss is a novel of extraordinary power and virtuosity from a 20th century master. Looking forward to that. Next, we have one of my favorite classic authors that I discovered in recent years. Now, you guys all know that my top classic novel, my number one classic novel thus far, has always been Jane Eyre by Charlotte Bronte. And in that second place, still unbeaten, is Ruth by Elizabeth Gaskell. So once I discovered Ruth, I went on I wanted to read everything Elizabeth Gaskell has ever written. I'm good at words, I swear. And so I have a bunch of her stuff still in my piles. And this one is one as well. And it's Elizabeth Gaskell's Mary Barton. Now, let's read the back blurb, shall we? People on Turkey carpets with their 3 meat meals a day are wondering, forsooth, why working men turn Chartists and communists. Do they want to know why? Asked Fraser's magazine in 1848. Then let them read Mary Barton. While it is certainly possible to consult Mary Barton as a social document depicting Manchester in the hungry 40s with appalling precision, the novel can not only be read as such. Partly because its love story and murder plot involving Mary and her father John are so grippingly told, but more because Elizabeth Gaskell's real strength lies in her fidelity to feelings. Yes, a genius for making her characters so individually human in their responses to poverty and injustice that we are touched by an appeal that goes beyond government statistics and beyond time. Yes, this is why I love Elizabeth Gaskell as a classic author. I mean, let me just finish the rest. As Stephen Gill writes in his introduction, Mary Barton is social history as it should be understood on the pulses of the people who made it. This is why I love Elizabeth Gaskell's work. This is why I loved Ruth so much, because her writing style is so immersive and just, you feel everything that Ruth was feeling, and even like the characters, and even the characters you didn't like were still well written, and just, there wasn't, in Elizabeth Gaskell's writing, there isn't that cold sort of upper crust, impressed with itself writing style that I find in a lot of classic literature, where Jane Austen fans turn away, where it takes them 15 words to make a two-word sentence point. Like, Jane Austen, I am looking at you. Like, the girl can ramble about, like, something that should take only, like, 3 words to say. Elizabeth Gaskell doesn't do that. Of course, she's not like Hemingway, where it's like a period after every word. She is in a sort of normal, inviting medium. And yeah, she's not trying to impress you with her writing. She's telling you a story that draws you in, because she makes her characters come alive and you're interested. You're not, like, I think if, like, Elizabeth Gaskell was taught more in schools and in high schools and college, which I have my own views of, like, whether classics should be taught in high school and forget elementary school. If you haven't seen that video where I make that point, I don't think that classics should be taught in high school, because I don't think that they have the mental maturity to appreciate the stories, and which is ironic because there's a debate going on now whether the voting age should be lowered to 16, and I say hell no. Hell no. No, they are not mature enough to make that kind of decision. If you're like 16 years old and you're, socially and like civically and politically active, that's wonderful. However, you are in the minority. I'm sorry, you just are. And I think that if you were going to teach classics in high school, it should be books like the kind that Elizabeth Gaskell writes, where it's not this dry sort of cut off, impressing you with its writing, cold, just dull as reading, if you could read paint dry. That's the kind of classics that they usually teach. And where you get graded on your reading of classics, which I never really understood that. Because what you're reading as like your own like individual person, and especially with a classic, it's sort of what you take from it. But no, it's like the teachers are imparting onto you what you're supposed to be taking from it, what you're supposed to be understanding from it. And it's like, no. In terms of literature, it should be, what are you taking from it? And I think with certain classic literature, as a young person, as a teenager, you can't take anything from it. Because you don't have the mental maturity to get past the word vomit that most classic literature is. I said what I said. Back then, most of them were getting paid by the word, so there was some word vomiting going on. And I think that Elizabeth Gaskell surpasses all that. She does it the way classics should be done. I mean, I love her. I read Ruth. I read one book from her and fell in love with her. And I'm not worried about reading her other books. I want to read all her other books. Whereas in the case of a non-classic that was my favorite book last year, Pieces of Her by Karen Slaughter, I'm scared to read her other books because I love that Pieces of Her so much that I'm scared that the other books will disappoint me. In a similar vein, where one of my favorite Harlequin Presents that I have on my keeper shelf is called A World Apart by Macy Yates. And so I've been making my way through Macy Yates' books. But they have not been working for me. Like that one Harlequin Presents. It's just been, like disappointment after disappointment. They just haven't grabbed me. So I think we're saying goodbye to Macy Yates. And with Karen Slaughter, I have a few of her books on my shelf, but I'm afraid to read them because I love Pieces of Her so much. But with Elizabeth Gaskell, I don't have that fear. I don't know why. I trust that the rest of her books are going to be as good as Ruth is. Now, this is June 2024. Let's see if future me, after having read more of Elizabeth Gaskell, still feels that way. I hope I do. I'm 99% sure that I will. Because there's just something about her style that that I feel positive about. That I feel will continue to be a positive experience. So, a little bit of a side tangent there, but not really, because we're still talking about Elizabeth Gaskell. Next, we have another big boy, and it's The Count of Monte Cristo by Alexander Dumas. And again, it's another Penguin X-Line classic. Love these so much because they say classic to me. I love the movie. The most recent movie, has there been another one made after the Jim Caviezel Guy Pearce one? Was there another one made? I love every version. I was thinking Alexander Dumas, Three Musketeers. But I love the Count of Monte Cristo, the movie with Jim Caviezel and Guy Pearce. And I don't think there's been a more recent one made. I haven't checked, but that one was really so good. And I am, never read the book, but I saw it and I was like, hey, and you know how we do here. If there is a book to movie adaptation, me will be dying on that hill of watch the movie first. Because I'm sorry, as much as I love big books, especially if it's a classic, that will make me less likely to pick this up if I hadn't already seen the movie and loved it. I don't know how close the movie was to the book, But because I loved the movie, I picked up the book because I want more of the story that I loved. And I think I'm going to get it. So, if you don't know what the Count of Monte Cristo is about, the epic tale of wrongful imprisonment, adventure, and revenge in its definitive translation. Thrown in prison for a crime he has not committed, Edmond Dantes is confined to the grim fortress of If. There, he learns of a great hoard of treasure hidden on the Isle of Monte Cristo, and he becomes determined not only to escape, but also to use the treasure to plot the destruction of the 3 men responsible for his incarceration. Dumas' epic tale of suffering and retribution, inspired by a real-life case of wrongful imprisonment, I did not know that, was a hugely popular success when it was first serialized in the 1840s. Now again, serialized means it was offered in chapters and bits and pieces, likely in a newspaper, or sort of literary magazine or what have you, for consumer consumption. Which makes me a little worried, because again, writers were paid by the word, and this is a big book, so I am worried about the aforementioned word vomit. But I am willing to get in here, because I love the movie. So we shall see. How many, just for my own. Oh, we are in like the thousands here. Okay, so we're in notes. (1,243 pages. Well, hang on. Let me see the introduction. Yeah, the introduction is like this little bit here. The notes is like this little bit. You can see that here. And the rest of it is that. So 1,243 pages. Is War and Peace bigger than that? I'm not sure. I have that on my shelf too. This one we don't have a back blurb for. I don't think. No, that's just the her sort of biography and the introduction. We have, it's a duology from Edith Wharton, and it's Ethan Frome and Summer. And I haven't heard anything about Summer, but I heard Ethan Frome was depressing. So, and I think Ethan Frome, it was published in 1911, and Summer was published in 1917. So, oh, she has quite a couple of books here. Oh, I've heard of The Age of Innocence. Her last book, The Buccaneers, it's unfinished. And she has a book on the writing of fiction, The Book of the Homeless. She has poetry, and she has a few plays. So we've got this one. We have Ethan Frome and Summer. So looking forward to checking that out. So that was, I believe, our classic section. The last two are not, but they have the most gorgeous cover. Look at this cover. Like, it's metallic. The edging in the words. Just, oh my goodness. The Sweetness of Forgetting by Kristen Harmel. At 36, Hope McKenna Smith is no stranger to bad news. She lost her mother to cancer, her husband left her for a 22-year-old, and her bank account is nearly depleted. With her own dreams of becoming a lawyer long gone, she's running a failing family bakery on Cape Cod and raising a troubled preteen. Now Hope's beloved French-born grandmother, Mamie, Mamie? That word means something else. Mamie? We're going to say Mamie, because Mammy is doesn't have the most positive connotation. Who wowed the Cape with her fabulous pastries for more than 50 years, is drifting away into a haze of Alzheimer's. But in a rare moment of clarity, Mamie realizes that unless she tells Hope about the past, the secrets she has held on to for so many years will soon be lost forever. Tantalizingly, she reveals mysterious snippets of a tragic history in Paris. And now we know why I picked this up. And then, arming her with a scrawled list of names, she sends Hope to France to uncover a 70-year-old mystery with the roots in the Nazi occupation. Hope's emotional journey takes her through the bakeries of Paris and 3 religious traditions, all guided by Mamie's fairy tales and the sweet tastes of home. As Hope pieces together her family's history, she finds horrific Holocaust stories mixed with powerful testimonies of her family's will to survive in a world gone mad. And to reunite 2 lovers torn apart by terror, all she needs is a dash of courage and the belief that God exists everywhere, even in cake. So y'all, we have World War II, and we have food porn. I have a feeling I am going to utterly enjoy this book so much. So, looking forward to that. And finally, we have Anya, by however you want to pronounce it, by Susan Fromberg Schaefer. And it's a very pretty cover. They were well-to-do Russian Jews living in Poland, in a world more like Tolstoy's than our own. A world of piano lessons, elaborate meals, and storytelling. A world swept away in the firestorm of the Holocaust. Through memory, Anya brings this world back to life, room by room, street by street. The life of the cities, the country dakas, vacations and medical schools, fancy dress balls, marriages and births, and death. From the sudden shock of the first bombing of Warsaw, the violence unleashed by Nazis swelled to a flood of destruction and despair. Bewildered and numbed, the Jewish community struggled with the growing nightmare. With cold, raw audacity, Anya runs, hides, and fights to save herself and her child. Lucky in everything but her mind, Anya survives only to find that as time passes, the wounds grow deeper, and now it takes an act of courage to remember just how it was. So, again, World War II, I am here for. So, those are the books that I wanted to show off to you guys in this video. That's one little chunk from that little shelf there. So have you read any of these books? I would love to know, which do you think I should read first? Again, what did you think of them? No spoilers, of course, as I clearly have not read them yet. And so that's going to be it for this week's video. If you again want to check out the crafty things that I was talking about, links in the description. And yeah, subscribe so you can check out my other sort of book-related stuff that I'm posting up here. I also do little like preview clips of reaction videos that I do. So that's going to be it for this week's video. Follow me on Twitter at twitter.com/authorejamie. Like my Facebook page at facebook.com/authorejamie. And I will talk to you guys next time. Bye!